Yes, this is Mitch McConnell. And I'm speaking to the Republican National Committee. And we have today a discussion about Trump and perhaps some toys, shirts, Trump water bottles, Trump underwear. What can we sell that says Trump on it to fundraise for our Republican candidates like Mitt Romney? How can we derive as much money and financial benefit from the name Trump while at the same time investigating him and trying to make his life into a living nightmare? What can we do? Maybe little toys, a Trump little plush toy. What else? Let me know. Maybe a Trump documentary on how he worked with Putin and how we didn't impeach him on that. What can we do to be as immoral and unethical as possible? To frame and set him up while at the same time deriving as much financial benefit from his likeness. Ladies of the Orange Menace, how can we squeeze as much financial benefit from the Orange Menace as possible? Ladies and gentlemen, Trump has offered a cease and desist to the Republican Party to prevent them from using his likeness for fundraising. And I didn't have my McConnell today, but they've tried to... It's really interesting. You have Sessions and Romney and everybody surrounding President Trump that basically allowed Democrats to set him up and frame him with a dossier. And you have a Republican who was investigated by other Republicans. So why would you utilize Trump to fundraise when you try to throw him under the bus? That doesn't make any sense, does it? Does it make any sense at all? Does that make any sense at all to utilize an individual that you investigated? To utilize an individual that you investigated alongside Democrats, and then sell his likeness and his brand name and who he is on merchandise. Anybody want a water bottle? It says 45 on it. It's 45. This is the 45th president. To get your Republican water bottle, that's Trump water 45. Yes, we're going to give the money to Ben Sass. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? What kind of political party? What kind of just despicable, nefarious political entity does that? Why would you investigate Trump and then try to utilize his name, his brand, his likeness to raise money? What kind of political party are you? But here, Trump sends cease and desist. So let's get this going here. NBC News. Trump sent cease and desist letters to GOP campaign committees. The former president has asked the committees, including the RNC, to stop using his name and likeness in fundraising appeals. Everybody, if you want to give money to Ben Sass, Mitt Romney, Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins, Adam Kinzinger and Cheney in Wyoming. We have shoes, Trump shoes, and Trump toothpick, and Trump toothpaste, and Trump toothbrush, and we have, let's see, pens, Trump pens. Who doesn't like a Trump folder? What else? And we have a wonderful brochure on all the wonderful accomplishments that Trump... No, this is going to Cheney, yes, and Kinzinger, yes. All the money is going to the Never Trumpers.
Why would you do that if you're Mitch McConnell or if you're leading the Republican Party? Why don't you just fundraise using the likeness of Mitt Romney? See how much money you get. See how much money you get from saying, oh yeah, this is the future of the Republican Party. Jada Vegas, hello. M. Ray, hello. Oh, by the way, Eric H526, Luke St. Martin, thank you very much for being amazing moderators, everybody. Big Daddy, hello. Hi, Caroline. David, hello. Thank you very much. So, I mean, let's just read this. Washington, attorneys for former President Donald Trump sent cease and desist letters Friday to 3 Republican organizations, asking them to stop using the former president's name and likeness in fundraising appeals and merchandise. A Trump advisor says, okay, so the letters were sent to the Republican National Committee, the National Republican Congressional Committee, Paul Ryan, and the National Republican Senate Committee. Wow. Those 3 organizations were really, they probably should have sent, he should have sent a letter to Jeff Sessions saying, never use my name, never utter my name out of your mouth, Sessions. Arms of the party tasked with raising money and shaping messaging, among other things, for the midterm elections and beyond. The midterms are going to be, they're going to be defined by primaries of Never Trumpers. Hello. Bohemian Spirit. Shalom. Hello. To my super chat, by the way, thank you so much. To my super chat, you give me every incentive to rock these live streams, and I really appreciate your support. Thank you. Your support is greatly appreciated. To my new Patreons, thank you so very much. My Patreon will be below in the pinned comment. Ladies and gentlemen, let's continue. So the letters were sent to the Republican National Committee, the National Republican Congressional Committee, and the National Republican Senate Committee. So none of these political entities helped Trump in any way. They never stood up for Trump. They never defended him. The Democrats and media utilized a dossier purchased by the DNC and Clinton, a dossier they literally had to purchase. Now, it's interesting, too, because I'm like, I listened to a really, really great Joe Rogan interview of a gentleman who has a viewpoint, a new kind of viewpoint, different from the traditional narrative on the Manson cult and why they did the most horrendous, atrocious, nefarious, despicable, disgusting things they did. And he was talking about how there's a potential link to the intelligence community in this, our beloved country. And then and I'm listening to him, he has a book out, and he did a lot of great journalistic, he really devoted a great, part of his life to finding out what potentially could be the truth. And he just, I was listening to him in interviews, and he was like, well, I don't want to, and then he used a euphemism for the intelligence agency. I don't want to, give credence to what Trump was saying regarding certain intelligence agencies. But then he went on and said, yeah, these agencies basically did the most horrendous things in the shadows of government and without any accountability, and broke laws and did, things that nobody ever thought possible. And so I'm like, wait a second. I mean, on one hand, you got to respect the man for looking at things from a different vantage point and really trying to perhaps find the truth about a really, just very, very evil, despicable acts that were committed, like the most immoral you could ever think of. That he linked to intelligence agencies within the country. And I'm thinking to myself, you couldn't possibly, just because you dislike Trump, I respect the man for what he did, but in my head, I'm like, you dislike Trump, so you can't even make that leap of logic to where you can't even give Trump the benefit of the doubt, even though there's all this evidence that shows intel agencies set up and framed Trump because there were operatives that didn't like him. They utilized the dossier purchased by his direct political rival. They did everything possible to deceive FISA judges with Kevin Kleinsmith. He was indicted on that. You have text messages, "Will stop Trump," from Peter Strzok. You have a high to moderate confidence assessment that said that that Putin, we're confident, we're highly confident that the Russians infiltrated the DNC to help Trump and hurt Clinton. It's like, well, so you've basically done all this research on linking a really, really, terrible time period and the most, heinous atrocities to some type of involvement with the intelligence agencies. And, of course, these are just theories and, a possibility that he tried to explore. But then the "we'll stop it" text. I love this. This is they're all Peter Strzok basically said, "We'll stop Trump." Why Peter Strzok sent a text? And so it was basically because Trump was mean. He was a really mean person, so we'll stop him. So it's okay. It's like, are you kidding me? Strzok sent the text after Trump made the horrible, disgusting decision to insult. It's like, wait a second. You're supposed to be unbiased. You can't simply say we'll stop an incoming president because he is insulting. I love how the sentiments of these corrupt agents come into play to justify their, potentially illegal activity. But it's interesting. It's really interesting how some people, just because they dislike Trump, will allow anything. I'm not referring, I actually don't know how this journalist really feels about Trump, but he made a reference. I was listening to a couple of interviews with this gentleman. I'm not going to give you his name, but I respect him for, looking into the official narrative and perhaps trying to find a different narrative based on evidence that he's compiled. But at the same time, he made these kind of disparaging remarks about Trump, and he was like, well, I don't want to be that person to say that, intel agencies, and he used the euphemism, were out to get Trump. It's like, yeah, they were. It's pretty obvious. That's why Brennan is on MSNBC and CNN all the time, that Clapper was on, with Chuck Todd, and he was like, oh, yeah, we don't have direct evidence. They never had direct evidence. They still investigated Trump. So it's always like Peter Strzok explains the "we'll stop it" text. It's because he was mean and insulting. It's like, I've had enough, by the way, of hearing that Trump is insulting. Yes, he's insulting. Guess what? He's better than Bush, and he was a better president than President Obama. Much better. Want to know why? Because he didn't destroy a country, which Bush and President Obama did numerous times, or if you want to talk about the foreign policy of President Obama, the failed NATO intervention, and the funding of rebel groups in certain countries, let's go ahead and do that. I can debate anybody on that. The most horrendous atrocities took place throughout the world under President Obama's administration, and especially under Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld, because of their absolutely awful decision-making in terms of foreign policy. But Trump, Trump gave it to them. He gave it to them. His personality, like Adam Kinzinger, Cheney, they voted, Mitch McConnell, they voted alongside Trump over 90% of the time. Again, they vote alongside Trump over 90% of the time. Over 90% of the time, they voted alongside Trump. Over 90% of the time, but they said, oh, well, we don't like his personality. We don't like his personality. So his personality was the issue. Now they're trying to fundraise off that same personality. It's interesting. The best thing that ever happened to President Trump was that he's no longer on Twitter. That's the best thing. But you look and it's like this inability to understand. Of course, the intel operatives, whether it was James Comey or Clapper or Brennan, of course they circulated a dossier that was completely discredited, purchased by Trump's direct political rival. The conflicts of interest were numerous, and they had no direct evidence, yet they investigated based on suspicion. You don't do that to incoming presidential candidates. That's not an example of a peaceful transition of power. So, it's like, then they're like, well, the IG report, it's like, it was inappropriate. But, the Russia probe is like the IG, I think the IG got the "will stop it" text. We found that Strzok was not the sole decision maker for any of the specific investigative decisions examined in this chapter. So what? What is that? This is like bureaucrats are like, well, he wasn't the sole decision maker. Yeah, so what? They're all friends with one another. He was tasked to compile evidence, which the evidence was all skewed towards his biases, and they were all in on the same thing. They didn't have to sign an oath saying, we will stop Trump. They insulted and demeaned and disparaged Trump, like a whole bunch of them. Laughing Dog Bear. H.A., you bring up great points never mentioned by others. Thank you for that. Your voice is greatly appreciated. Laughing Dog Bear, thank you so very, very much. I do appreciate that so much. I appreciate that greatly. And, I'm almost at 200,000 subs, Laughing Dog Bear, and it's because of people like you, and I just thank you so very, very much. And there's no graphics here. There's no, I don't do anything, but I have, paintings or posters in the background. It's just me. I'm a one-man show, and I really appreciate your support. You know what? The kind words, can I tell you, Laughing Dog Bear? The kind words, I have, when I became a supporter of President Trump, or I said, I'm leaving the left, I've never received more kind sentiments and words and wishes and statements from people. And I just want to thank you, Laughing Dog Bear. Thank you so very, very much. Life on the left was horrendous. Every day was like a challenge, really. But I really appreciate that. Thank you, Laughing Dog Bear. Thank you. I mean, it's like Skullcram, hello. Renee, hello. It's like Luke St. Martin, hello. The Roz Rodriguez, hello. Hello, everybody. Eric, age 526. So, they, in 2022, you're going to have the midterms. You're going to have the midterms. So thank you, Laughing Dog Bear. Thank you. You're going to have the midterms, and you'll have Trump Republicans run the House, which is a good thing, a very good thing. You'll have Trump Republicans run the House, and you'll hopefully have a political party that serves as an opposition. Like we've had a one-party rule, one party. Here, this is interesting. However, we found that, this is the IG report, we found that Strzok was not the sole decision maker for any of the specific investigative decisions examined in this chapter, except he helped set up and frame Michael Flynn, so there you go. We further found evidence that in some instances, Strzok and Page advocated for more aggressive investigative measures than did others. Yeah, you mean when they were, devoting, all their text messages to how much they despised Trump? They had contempt for this man, and they were investigating him. Gee, you think maybe the biases had something to do with it? However, we did not find documentary or testimonial evidence that improper considerations, including political bias, what? Documentary or testimonial evidence would be, I can't stand Trump and I'm going to set him up. Signed, Peter Strzok. You're not going to find that. My God, this is the IG report. It was the most absurd, the most incompetent. It directly affected the specific investigative decisions discussed below, or that the justifications offered for these decisions were pretextual. It's like, you have people who didn't want Trump. That's it. They would never have allowed this type of behavior to go against Biden or Clinton or anyone else. It would never have happened. It would never have happened. And I'm telling you, it's not Strzok or Pelosi. They're not the issue. The issue is Romney and Sass and the Never-Trumpers. It's not the great white shark. It's not the hammerhead sharks in the water, or the great white sharks in the water, or the reef sharks, or whatever. Tiger sharks. It's not the barracuda or the piranha. You don't look at the grizzly bear and say, God, why is that grizzly bear eating me up? That's terrible. I mean, doesn't that grizzly bear, doesn't that lion, doesn't that shark, great white shark, have any manners? Gosh, that rattlesnake is so rude. It's the person throwing the rock at the grizzly bear looking at you, behind you. It's the Republican throwing that gigantic boulder or rock at the grizzly bear, just to make that bear charge you. It's the Republican who throws you into the water, where the piranha or the shark gets you. That's what I'm saying. It's nothing to do with. It's nothing to do with Trump's direct political rivals are not they're not Clinton or Pelosi or Biden or President Obama or anyone. It's actually the Republicans that set him up and framed him. That's the issue. And those same Republicans are now trying to raise money off his brand, off who he is, because they know, how many people would show up to a Ben Sass rally? Ooh, nothing says electricity and energy and passion like listening to Adam Kinzinger or Cheney or Ben Sass. We're going to do exactly what Democrats would do in foreign policy, and we're going to not make the Washington Post and New York Times upset. We will never rock the boat, everybody. Yay! It's oh my God. If Mitt Romney's the nominee, which ain't going to happen, because even Mitt Romney's yeah, Trump would run away with it. But if Mitt Romney's the nominee, I would enjoy watching Biden go 8 years. Because I would just be look, it's president, and then it would probably go to one of his either Donald Trump Jr. or somebody like in Trump's family. Like they don't get it because they've never been treated like President Trump. They're okay with it. They're very duplicitous and disingenuous. Like, you know, like for so long they were complaining about Trump and William Barr and, oh my God, William Barr is doing Trump's bidding. Oh, he's doing Trump's. Oh my God. You have a monstrosity in terms of propaganda and public relations. You have every single possible advantage. Every single, like, think about it like Real News Headquarters, longtime supporter, sorry. Hey, I just thank you for being here. Real News Headquarters, I thank you for being here. I thank you for the kind words, and thank you so very much. Real News Headquarters, thank you. You know what? Just the fact, again, the kind words mean a great deal to me. So I thank you very much. I thank you very much. Real News Headquarters, thank you. I mean, they went up. The reason that we have, you got to ask yourself, ladies and gentlemen, you got to ask yourself, okay, why do we have the political climate? Why do we have the political climate that we do? It has nothing to do with the Democratic Party or the left. It really does. I mean, a little bit. A little bit has to do, obviously, with them. But it's not like the reason that we have this political climate is not because of Democrats. The reason we have this, like what's going on, the reason we have what's going on today is because of Republicans, not Democrats. And I'm not even a Republican. I'm not a registered Republican. I voted for President Trump, but it has nothing to do with, like, what we have today is like basically one party rule. One party rule. And that's it. And we have one party rule because you don't have an opposing viewpoint in this country. There's no opposing viewpoint. Okay? There's no opposing viewpoint. You have media, you have Democrats, you have experts. The experts say, and any expert that disagrees is a quack, is horrible, is just a bad person. But you have experts, you have Democrats, and the experts always agree with Democrats. Any experts that don't agree, oh my God, they're ostracized, they're excommunicated, they've committed blasphemy, and oh my God, they're heretics, and it's the absolute worst thing you could ever think of. You know, you don't want to be an expert that disagrees with Democrats, because you will get 40 hit pieces. Oh my God, and they'll talk to your friends, they'll talk to your coworkers. Oh my goodness, it's really bad. You know what, this person shouldn't be trusted. He's not really an expert. You know, the real experts don't think he's an expert, so you shouldn't even trust him. Our experts are better than their experts. And it's like, by the way, my computer is like freezing up. I'm glad that I haven't. I'm looking at my phone. I'm glad that I haven't. I'm glad that I can still like look at my phone, and it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny. But, because I'm trying to get my computer to work, and it's, like, not working. But, yeah, I mean, it's interesting. They're trying to utilize Trump to raise money. I mean, they have the audacity to utilize President Trump's name, likeness, brand, his tenure as president to raise money, because they know that they wouldn't be able to raise any money from any of the Never-Trumpers. You're getting the same exact person. And then you get like Democrats who are like, the Republicans need to find an adult in the room. What they mean is the Republicans need to find somebody that we can easily defeat. If we can easily defeat that person, he's not an authoritarian, he's not a despot, he's not a tyrant. You better believe the second that Republicans find somebody like Trump, or, if obviously, hopefully it's Trump again, but I mean, DeSantis is the only person I could think of that has a chance. He did infinitely better. Infinitely better. He did infinitely better in Florida compared to Cuomo in New York. Infinitely better. So there's no comparison there. There's absolutely no comparison there. I mean, Cuomo is just horrendous. You look at, here's a man in New York's governor who has a book out on leadership lessons, if you can believe that. A book on leadership lessons. And he ran his state into the ground. Now they're going after Texas. And they're saying, oh, how dare you? Texas has a lower per capita rate, did a lot better. A lot better. It has a greater population than New York. Did a lot better than New York. And they're all into the stimulus, but it's like, well, when are you going to open up the economy? Democratic-run states tanked their economies, have the worst outcomes, and they pontificate the most. This is all like a fact. They have the absolute worst economies, and they've had the worst outcomes. So how are they able to pontificate? I don't get it. But that's what they do. They condemn and judge. Look, they're all about condemnation, judgment. They're all about condemnation and judgment. That's what they do. That's what they're into. Not so much like results. They're not judged like there's no reason why Cuomo, of all people, Andrew Cuomo, should have written a book on leadership lessons. It's pretty much a microcosm of Democratic politics. It pretty much tells you everything you need to know about Democratic politics. It pretty much tells you everything you need to know. He presides over the absolute worst outcomes. The absolute worst outcomes. And he then writes a book. It is pretty unbelievable. All right, let me see if I get my computer. It's funny, I'm looking at my phone. It's just weird. Like, I'm looking at my phone. Okay, let me see if I could finally do this. Oh my God. I can't believe my computer's having some bizarre issue right now where maybe it's like updating or something, I don't know. And all right, let me see, because I would like to kind of just look at like the back end here. the studio. So now I'm waiting for it to actually work. And now it's thinking. But at least, I mean, I can look at my... this is how people tubing themselves, by the way. Because from my... not me. I don't work for CNN. And I'm not a wonderful, morally superior liberal who tubins themselves. But... Michael Lee, hello. But the funny thing is, like, on this screen right here, it seems like it's not, like, the hilarious things, my computer, it doesn't seem like it's like recording, but it is. So that's how people don't, like, on these Zoom meetings, they bust a tubing, and it's like, oh my God, why is this not working? So annoying. Hi, Caroline. Hello. Yeah, I don't like, I'm like 2022, when Republicans get the House, then you'll have an actual opposition party. You'll have an actual opposition party. That's all you need is like some alternative viewpoint in this country. Life does not revolve around Twitter. In fact, life should actually not revolve at all anywhere near Twitter. Like social media platforms, they say YouTube is part of social media, but really YouTube is a video-based platform. Video-based platforms are not message boards, okay? Like, I'm talking about like message board. Like Facebook is a glorified message board. It's a glorified message board. It really is. Twitter is a glorified message board. And Michael, I do also. I used to. Yeah. And it's like, the Roz, definitely right. Definitely right. I'm actually looking at the chat on my phone. I can't, my computer is like missing in action now. It's like not even working. If without my phone, I wouldn't know if we were really on. Definitely the Roz. Start writing. It's good. Ladies and gentlemen, so I'm trying to actually get back on, and it's not working. So Andrew Cuomo in New York is just imploding. He's like, no, I'm not gonna. Well, what did he say? America was never great. And then like, what a political just tool. Even Bernie Sanders is more genuine, and that's saying a lot. Because he was running against, I forgot who he was running against, but it was more of like, Aunt Jenny, hello. He was running against an actress who was like, embraced socialism, and she was more on the left. And of course, she was more critical about the country and everything. So, what he tried to do is be edgy. And so his idea of becoming more edgy was saying something disparaging about the country. So in his attempt at being like moral and, left-leaning, thought leader or whatever, he goes, America was never great. And then he goes into like this whole thing, like, greatness, America was never great. And then even the crowd was like, oh my God, like what? What? What are you talking about? And he goes, greatness is when half the population, and he's like, half the population, he was talking about women. There's no more stereotyping. And now he's accused of like everything under the sun by people he worked with. So, I mean, typical hypocrite. It's pretty unbelievable. Just typical hypocrite. Exactly. Your name here. Exactly. Yuri, hello. So, America was never great. And then he goes, and then, oh, you know what? And then when he was talking about the numbers that he deliberately falsified or didn't tell New Yorkers, he was like, because, the elderly, facility controversy, that was going on for a long time. Elron, hello. That was going on a long time. And people went after him, like a really courageous Democrat, Ron Kim, in New York. Your name here. Oh my God. No, I'm not laughing at the story. I'm laughing at what your name here said. Greatness is when. And so when they were calling him out and they were saying, well, wait a second, why didn't you give us the correct numbers? And then he goes, there was a void. No, he goes, we gave the numbers to the Trump Justice Department. And the Trump Justice Department went after us. I don't know why. Could be political. And then he said, and once we gave those numbers, we didn't have the numbers because we shipped them in a suitcase. We put the numbers in a suitcase and shipped them via FedEx. So we were not in possession of the numbers. And when the numbers are not in our possession, there was a void. And that void was filled in with disinformation. And I was watching this even before all the allegations. I'm like, my God, typical Democrat. Oh my God. Because as everyone knows, when we don't have the numbers, other people have the numbers. And when they're put in a suitcase FedEx, we don't have possession of them, and there's a void, and the void is then filled in with disinformation and false numerals. And so he tried to get everybody to believe the nonsense, and it was like, really despicable. Really despicable. It's pretty unbelievable it really is pretty unbelievable when you think about it. Really. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much. I think I'm going to head out now. Michael, hello. we have a great chat, my goodness. Think I'm going to head out, call it an evening. Be here tomorrow evening for the the live stream. Eric, thank you so much. Luke St. Martin, thank you so very much. And everyone, thank you to my super chat. Thank you so much. Everyone, it was great. It was fun. I had some computer issues, which I think is one of the reasons I'd rather just end this on a high note. End this on a high note, as Mel Brooks. But Caroline, hello. Be here tomorrow evening. I'll have an upload in about 1 hour. So be here in 1 hour, everyone. Thank you